All right, so in the previous video, we kind of got into um, the idea and we accepted the fact that bonds are rarely issued at par. And so whether we issue bonds at a discount or at a premium, we can't just leave that discount or that premium on the balance sheet forever, right? So we have to amortize or reduce the bond discount or bond premium. Now, when we're using a bond discount, we're going up from whatever net amount we received in cash, and we're going upwards. We'll get to that in a minute. Bond premiums are a little bit easier to understand, I think, but it says here that there are two methods of computing the amortization of a bond discount or a bond premium: the straight line method and the effective interest method. All right. We will not be looking at the straight line method in this class because we don't have time, and the effective interest rate method or the interest method is the approved method anyway. And it says here that the effective interest rate method is required by GAAP. That straight line method can be used if the results do not significantly differ. However, we're going to ignore that, and I am only going to present to you the effective interest rate method. What does that mean? That means that if you are a go-getter and you actually read your textbook, you're going to see plenty of information about the straight line method. However, you will not be tested on it, and you won't have to do any homework on it. We only teach the effective interest or interest method. It says here the effect of the discount amortization. This is a heady. What we're talking about right now is kind of a heady topic. It says the effect of amortizing the discount on the bond is to increase interest expense on every semi-annual interest payment date. It says further, in effect, this increases the contract rate of interest to a rate of interest that approximates the market rate. Okay. Now, that may not in and of itself mean a whole lot to you. And hey, I understand. Because, well, quite honestly, this is the first time you're ever seeing this. And so we need an example. So this is what we're talking about right here. I want you to do your best with this as we possibly can. We're going to pay 12% interest, right? Which, if we recall, we're paying this semi-annually. And so every 6 months, we're going to be paying out $6,000 in interest. Okay? So let's just bring over here our calculator. 6 divided by, well, let me back up here. 6,000 divided by 100,000 equals 6%. Okay? Which, if we take 6% and double it, it's the 12%. So this is the example that we would have if we were issuing the bond at par. But that's not what's taking place here. Instead, we're going to pay the $6,000. But if we were to divide that by 96,406, the amount of cash that we actually received, let's go back over here. What we find is that we are effectively paying on this 96,406, we are paying 6.2, and then we're going to double this. We're effectively, instead of paying 12% interest, we're paying about 12.45%. 12.45%. 12.45% interest. And that's what it takes to make it worth the bondholders. That's what it takes to make it worth their while. We took whatever that is there, that's $3,594 less. Yeah, there it is right there. And effectively, when we make those semi-annual interest payments, we're paying at a rate of 12.45% rather than 12%. So that's what, when we were on the previous slide, it says the effect is to increase interest expense on every semi-annual interest payment. So about 6.23% interest because we issued the note at a discount. And we just saw the math on that. Okay, so what we have before us right now is an amortization schedule. And these are fairly complicated if we've not looked at them before. So let's see what we have here. We've got some columns for our interest payment dates. Remember, we issued these bonds on January the 1st of year one. Column A, we have interest paid, what is actually being paid, 6% of the face amount, which is $6,000. Okay? But our interest expense is based upon the market value, the market interest rate at any given point in time. And when we issued these bonds, if you recall, the market rate of interest was 13%. Now it says 6.5% here. Why? Because remember, we're paying this semi-annually every 6 months, so we have to take that 13 and divide it by 2. Okay? We have our discount amortization. We have our unamortized discount, which started off at $3,594, and our bond carrying amount, $96,406, which is the $100,000 liability minus the unamortized discount. So, what's going on here? Well, the actual interest paid is going to be $6,000, okay? But what we want to do, and we recognize interest expense because we're not paying this $6,000 on an actual $100,000 in proceeds. What we want to do is we want to take 6.5% or 0.065 times the current carrying amount, which started off at $96,406, and that equals the $62.66, and they've rounded down. Okay? Notice that the difference between the interest expense, $62.66, and the actual interest paid is $266. What this does is it decreases the amount of the unamortized discount. Initially, we had an unamortized discount of $35.94. We're going to subtract from that the discount amortization. Remember, the discount amortization is the difference between interest expense and interest paid. And we arrive at our new unamortized discount of $33.28. And notice our bond carrying amount is moving its way up to $100,000. Okay, so if we were to take, just to check our math, $100,000 minus $33.28, $96,672, just like it says. Okay, now you will have to do a little bit of this kind of stuff where we do not have the time to give you a question on an exam or anything where we have to do this for 10 periods. But you should practice with this. You should get familiar, and you should go through and kind of try to recreate this. We'll have a handout, some handout videos where we do this a little bit, and it will help you. We need to know how to amortize discount on bonds payable. We also are going to need to know how to amortize a premium on bonds payable, but we'll get to that in an upcoming video. All right, so let's see what we have here. This is our journal entry for amortization of a discount by the effective interest method. Notice we have interest expense of $62.66, and if you recall, remember, our bonds have a $100,000 face amount, 6% interest paid, 12% interest paid semi-annually, so that's $6,000. But the market rate was 13% divided by 2 is 6.5, again, times that carrying amount, which was, hopefully I can remember, 94,406. And maybe not. Let's see here. What was it? I think it was 96,406 times 0.065. Yeah, 62.66. There it goes. I just couldn't remember what the amount was. So our interest expense journal entry, our debit, is going to be debit for $6,266. Well, we already know that the amount of cash paid has to be based on the face amount of the bonds, which is $100,000, times the stated interest rate on the bonds, which is actually 12%, but remember we have to divide by 2, so I skipped a step. So that's why we're crediting cash for $6,000. This is the amount of cash that's going out. Okay, interest expense is $62.66, cash going out is $6,000. We set this discount on bonds payable up, if you recall, with a debit. Now we're going to credit that discount on bonds payable, $266. That's going to make our journal entry match, $62.66 debit and $62.66 credit. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this video up, and we'll move on to premiums next.